The Discovery Captain Zara Voss pressed her palm against the ancient hull, feeling the cold metal beneath her environmental suit. The derelict vessel hung in the void like a metallic tomb, its scarred surface telling stories of battles fought millennia ago. Her team of xenorchaeologists had been tracking this ship for 3 standard months, following energy signatures that shouldn't exist from something so old. "Captain," Lieutenant Marcus Reed's voice crackled through the comm, "the scans are peculiar. This ship predates known galactic civilization by at least 50,000 years. But there are active power readings coming from the core." Zara's breath fogged her visor as she studied the vessel's architecture. Unlike the sleek curves of modern spacecraft, this one was angular, brutal in its design. Weapon ports dotted its surface like the eyes of some ancient predator. Most disturbing were the symbols etched into the hull symbols that seemed to shift when she wasn't looking directly at them. "Any identification markers, Reed?" "Negative, Captain, but there's something else. The ship's design. It doesn't match any known alien configuration in our databases. The proportions, the engineering principles, they're almost human." Zara felt ice form in her stomach. Humanity had only achieved interstellar travel 3 centuries ago. They were newcomers to the galactic community, barely tolerated by the ancient species who had ruled space for eons. The idea that humans might have once possessed technology far beyond their current capabilities was impossible. "Sir?" came the voice of Technician Pavel Kovic from the shuttle. "I'm detecting a docking bay on the starboard side. It's opening." Without any command from Zara's team, massive doors began sliding apart with mechanical precision, revealing a dimly lit chamber within. Emergency lighting flickered to life along the walls, casting eerie shadows that seemed to beckon them inside. "That's impossible," Reed whispered. "The ship's been dead for millennia. How can it be responding to our presence?" Zara watched the docking bay with growing unease. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, to report their findings and let someone else investigate. But the xenoarchaeological implications were staggering. If this ship truly was of unknown origin, it could revolutionize their understanding of galactic history. "Prep the boarding party," she ordered, though her voice carried little conviction. "Full environmental suits, weapons ready. Whatever's in there has been waiting a very long time." As they approached the docking bay, their shuttle's lights illuminated the interior walls. More of those shifting symbols covered every surface, and at the far end of the chamber, Zara could see another set of doors, these ones sealed tight, as if protecting something precious within. Something moved in the shadows, beyond their lights, something that had been waiting. The awakening the boarding party's footsteps echoed, hollow in the ancient corridors, as they ventured deeper into the ship. Dr. Fiona Blackstone, the team's xenobiologist, swept her scanner across the walls, frowning at the readings. "Captain, the atmosphere in here is breathable, not just for us, but optimized for human physiology. Oxygen levels, pressure, even the temperature. It's as if this ship was designed specifically for our species." Zara felt the weight of impossibility pressing down on her. "That can't be right, Doctor. Run the scan again." "I've run it 4 times, Captain." The results are consistent. The corridor stretched ahead of them, lined with what appeared to be observation windows looking into empty chambers. Some contained the remnants of equipment too advanced to identify, while others held only darkness. The emergency lighting continued to activate as they moved, as if the ship itself was guiding their path. "Motion sensors are picking up something," Reed reported, his rifle raised. "Approximately 50 meters ahead, near what appears to be the bridge." They moved forward with tactical precision, but Zara noticed that Specialist Kai Norberg, their combat engineer, was trembling. Not from cold, his suit's environmental systems were functioning perfectly. From fear. "Norberg, report." "Captain, I've seen these symbols before. Not exactly these, but similar ones. My grandfather. He fought in the Outer Rim Conflict 60 years ago. He said he found a ship like this once, abandoned on a dead world, a crew that investigated it. None of them came back sane. That's enough, specialist, Zara cut him off. But doubt gnawed at her mind. They reached the bridge doors, which stood slightly ajar. Beyond them, a faint blue glow pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. As they approached, the doors opened wider. With a soft pneumatic hiss, the bridge was vast, far larger than any human vessel of its apparent age should possess. Command stations surrounded a central platform where a figure sat motionless in what appeared to be a captain's chair. The figure wore an environmental suit similar to their own, but of ancient design. Is he Dot alive? Blackstone whispered Dot as, if responding to her voice, the figure's helmet turned toward them. Through the faceplate, they could see human features, weathered, ancient, but undeniably human. His eyes opened, and when they did, they burned with an intelligence that had witnessed the rise and fall of entire civilizations. Finally, the figure spoke, his voice transmitted directly to their comms through the ship's systems. I was beginning to think you'd never find me. Zara's blood turned to ice. The man's accent, his facial structure, even his bearing, he was unmistakably human. But that was impossible. Who are you? She demanded. The figure stood slowly, as if remembering how to move after eons of stillness. My name is Colonel James Morrison, formerly of the Terran Deep Space Reconnaissance Division. He paused, studying their shocked faces through their visors. Though I suppose that name means nothing to you now. Tell me, what year is it by the old Earth calendar? 2387, Reed stammered. Morrison nodded grimly. Then I've been waiting here for exactly 73,215 years. The revelation, the silence on the bridge stretched like a physical thing as Morrison's words sank in. Zara felt reality shifting beneath her feet, threatening to crumble everything she thought she knew about human history. That's impossible, she said. Humanity only achieved interstellar flight 3 centuries ago. Before that, we were confined to Earth. Morrison's laugh was bitter, tinged with the weight of millennia. Is that what they teach you now? That humanity crawled from the mud too. The stars in a mere few hundred years? He walked to one of the bridge's massive viewports, gazing out at the star field beyond. We were magnificent once. We ruled 1/3 of this galaxy. Dr. Blackstone stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. The carbon dating on this ship, the metallurgy, the quantum signatures, they all confirm its age. But human civilization was reset, Morrison interrupted. Wiped clean, made to forget. He turned back to them, and in his ancient eyes, they saw pain that spanned geological ages. Tell me, in your history books, do you read of the Great War? The one that ended everything? Zara exchanged glances with her team. We have legends, myths about a time when humans fought gods among the stars. But they're just stories. Stories. Morrison's voice carried infinite sadness. We reduced ourselves to stories. He moved to a control panel, his fingers dancing, across interfaces that were somehow both alien and familiar. The bridge's main display activated, showing star charts that made Zara's head spin. 73,000 years ago, humanity controlled over 4,000 star systems. We had technology that could reshape matter at the quantum level, ships that could traverse galactic distances in days, and weapons that could crack planets. The display showed a vast network of interconnected systems, all marked with human colonies. What happened? Reed asked. Morrison's expression darkened. We made contact with something. Not the civilizations you know, now the Altarians, the Centauri Collective, the Crystal Mines. They came later, after we fell. No, we encountered something older, something that had been watching the galaxy since before stars learned to burn. The display changed, showing a region of space that seemed to bend and twist reality around it. They called themselves the Harbingers. They were beings of pure consciousness, evolved beyond physical form billions of years ago. And they had a very simple philosophy. No species should be permitted to exceed their own evolutionary achievements. They tried to destroy humanity. They tried, but humans were remarkably stubborn. Morrison smiled grimly. We fought back. For 700 years, we waged a war that consumed entire sectors of the galaxy. We developed weapons that could wound gods, ships that could hide from omniscient beings, and soldiers who could fight literal nightmares. The display showed battle after battle, human ships standing against things that defied description. We were winning. Actually winning. The Harbingers were retreating to the galactic core, preparing for what we thought would be their final stand. But they had one last weapon. Zara guessed. Morrison nodded. Memory. They couldn't kill us all. We were too spread out, too resilient. But they could make us forget. Every human mind in the galaxy simultaneously wiped clean. Colonies reverted to primitive survival. Our great fleets drifted empty through space. Within a few generations, we had forgotten we had ever left our birth world. Except for you. I was part of a deep reconnaissance mission, investigating Harbinger technology in the void between galaxies. We were shielded by experimental quantum barriers when the memory purge hit. My crew, they didn't survive the return journey. But I made it back, only to find that humanity had forgotten everything. Our homeworld was a pre-industrial society that looked up at the stars and dreamed of flying. Dr. Blackstone's voice was barely a whisper. You've been alone for 70,000 years? Waiting. The quantum barriers that protected me also slowed my aging, but I knew eventually they would fail. I programmed this ship to search for signs of humanity's return to the stars. When you achieved interstellar flight, it began broadcasting a signal that would eventually lead you here. Why? Zara asked. Why reveal all this now? Morrison's ancient eyes hardened with purpose. Because they're coming back. The Harbingers. My sensors have detected their scouts returning to this galaxy, and this time they won't settle for just erasing our memories. The warning, the weight of Morrison's revelation settled over the bridge like a shroud. Zara felt the familiar solid, decked beneath her feet, but everything else seemed to be shifting into unreality. 70,000 years of lost history, an ancient war, and now an enemy returning to finish what they started. How long? She asked, her command training overriding the existential crisis, threatening to overwhelm her. Morrison consulted readings on his ancient displays. Based on the quantum disturbances I've been monitoring, approximately 18 months before their first wave reaches the outer colonies. Maybe less. Specialist Norberg stepped forward, his earlier fear replaced by grim determination. What kind of enemy are we looking at, Colonel? Numbers, capabilities, fleet strength? The Harbingers don't use fleets in the conventional sense, Morrison replied. They are consciousness itself, reality shapers who can inhabit any form of matter or energy. They can turn your own ships against you, possess your crew, or simply unmake entire star systems with a thought. He paused, studying their faces. But they have weaknesses. Otherwise, humanity wouldn't have nearly won the first war. Dr. Blackstone was frantically taking readings with her equipment. Colonel, the technology on this ship, the quantum barriers, the reality anchors, the consciousness shields, it's all functional. If we could replicate it. That's exactly what I've been hoping for, Morrison said. But first, you need to understand what you're truly up against. He activated another display, showing recordings from the ancient war. What they saw defied? Description battles fought in dimensions that human minds could barely comprehend, weapons that turned enemy attacks into flower petals, and human soldiers standing unflinching against entities that warped space-time around them. The key to fighting the Harbingers, Morrison continued, is understanding that reality itself is their weapon. They don't just destroy civilizations. They rewrite the fundamental laws of existence to make those civilizations impossible. But human consciousness has a unique property. We're chaos in the quantum foam. We refuse to be rewritten. Lieutenant Reed studied the tactical displays with professional interest. The weapons shown here, they're not just advanced technology. They're conceptual somehow. Exactly. We learn to weaponize stubbornness itself. Humans have an almost pathological refusal to accept that something is impossible. The Harbingers could tell a human that gravity flows upward, and that human would find a way to walk on the ceiling out of spite. Despite everything, Zara found herself smiling grimly. That does sound like us. The problem is scale, Morrison said. Last time we had 4,000 worlds, billions of soldiers, and centuries to develop our weapons. Now you have, what, a few hundred colonies? Maybe 50 million humans total. Across the galaxy? Actually closer to 2 billion, Zara corrected. And we're not alone. The Galactic Council includes dozens of species. Morrison's expression grew troubled. That might be worse. The other species will try to negotiate, to find rational solutions. The Harbingers don't negotiate. They see other sentient species as evolutionary mistakes to be corrected, and they're very thorough about corrections. The bridge shuddered suddenly, and warning lights began flashing. Morrison moved to his command station with fluid efficiency, despite his ancient age. They've found us. 3 scout entities approaching from the galactic north. On the main display, 3 points of light appeared, but the light seemed wrong somehow, as if it was trying to be colors that didn't exist. Captain, Reed reported, checking his readings, our shuttle's sensors are going haywire. Whatever those things are, they're not following conventional physics. They're testing us, Morrison said grimly, seeing if any of the old defenses remain active. His hands moved across controls that seemed to respond to thought as much as touch. This ship still has some fight in it, but we can't engage them directly. Not yet. The ship around them began to hum with power that felt older than civilizations. Symbols along the walls flared to life, and reality seemed to solidify around them, becoming more real than real. What are you doing? Dr. Blackstone asked. Quantum camouflage, making us uninteresting to their perceptions. Morrison's voice carried strain as he maintained whatever defense he was weaving. But this will only work once. When we return to normal space, they'll know exactly what we are and where we're going. Then we'd better make it count, Zara said. Colonel, I need everything, all the technical specifications, tactical data, historical records. Everything humanity will need to survive what's coming. Morrison nodded as the strange lights on the display began to move away. That's why I waited, Captain. Not just to warn you, but to arm you. But understand, what I'm about to give you will change humanity forever. Once you know what we truly are, what we were capable of, there's no going back to being the young species playing at the edges of the galaxy. We were never meant to stay at the edges, Zara replied. The legacy 2 hours later, the data transfer was complete. Terabytes of information flowed from Morrison's ancient ship into their shuttle's computer's weapons schematics, tactical doctrines, historical records, and something far more valuable, the locations of other hidden human ships scattered across the galaxy, waiting in quantum sleep for the call to awaken. There are 47 vessels like this one, Morrison explained as he sealed the data cores. Each one contains a fragment of our lost heritage. But more importantly, each one has been building something while they waited. Building what? Zara asked. Morrison smiled, and for the first time, it wasn't tinged with ancient sadness. An army, automated production facilities, hidden in the void between stars. For 70,000 years, They've been manufacturing weapons, ships, and soldiers based on quantum templates preserved from the original war. Dr. Blackstone looked up from her readings. Soldiers? You mean androids? Not androids. Clones. Grown from genetic material preserved in quantum stasis. The greatest warriors humanity ever produced, sleeping in crystalline wombs, waiting for the call to defend their species once more. Morrison's eyes gleamed with fierce pride. The Harbingers made one crucial mistake when they wiped our memories. They assumed we would stay wiped. Lieutenant Reed studied the tactical data streaming across his displays. These weapon systems. Colonel, some of these designs violate the Galactic Weapons Convention. Son, the Harbingers don't care about conventions. When they arrive, every law of physics you know will become a polite suggestion. We'll need weapons that can function in absolute chaos. Soldiers who can fight in dimensions that don't technically exist, and the kind of stubborn human refusal to die that drove an enemy of gods to the brink of extinction. The data transfer completed with a soft chime. Morrison stood slowly, his ancient frame showing the weight of eons for the first time. The quantum barriers that kept me alive are finally failing. I have perhaps days before the decay becomes irreversible. We can get you medical attention, Zara offered. Extended life treatments, quantum rejuvenation. Morrison shook his head. I've lived long enough to pass the torch. That's all I ever wanted. He walked to the viewport one last time, gazing out at stars that had wheeled in their courses for the entire span of his vigil. Besides, I have one last duty to perform. The bridge displays activated, showing the locations of the 47 hidden ships. One by one, distant lights began winking on across the galaxy as ancient vessels received their activation signals. The sleepers are awakening, Morrison said with satisfaction. Within 6 months, humanity will have an army that remembers how to fight gods. Within a year, you'll have weapons that can wound the concept of defeat itself. And the other galactic species? Dr. Blackstone asked. How do we convince them to help us fight an enemy they can't even comprehend? Morrison's expression hardened. You don't. The moment the Harbingers return, every other species will either surrender immediately or be converted into weapons against you. This is humanity's war, just as it was 70,000 years ago. Zara felt the weight of command pressing down her shoulders. How did we do it before? How did a few billion humans nearly defeat beings that could rewrite reality? By being absolutely, irrationally, magnificently human, Morrison replied. By refusing to accept that anything was impossible. By looking at gods and saying, you know what? I think we can take them. He turned from the viewport, his ancient eyes burning with the fire that had sustained him through eons of solitude. The Harbingers expect to face the scattered, primitive humans who barely remember how to reach the stars. Instead, they're going to rediscover why they spent 70,000 years hiding in the galactic core, afraid to face us again. The shuttle's comm system crackled to life. Captain, came Pavel's voice from their ship, I'm reading massive energy signatures across the galaxy. Ships powering up, construction facilities coming online. Captain, what the hell did you find? In there? Zara looked at Morrison, who smiled with grim satisfaction. Humanity's true face, Pavel, the part of us we forgot we had. As they prepared to leave the ancient ship, Morrison had one final warning. Remember, Captain, the Harbingers. Greatest weapon was never their ability to reshape reality. It was convincing us that we were small, young, and helpless. Don't let them do it again. You are the inheritors of an empire that spanned the galaxy. You are the children of warriors who made gods flinch. And when they come for you, he paused, his voice carrying the weight of every human who had ever refused to bow down. Show them what it means to pick a fight with humanity.